down to Hyder Esports as they go wide at the Mulsanne corner. Joined them at the worst possible time, I think. I actually had a nice chat with Dennis Lind, one of the drivers of this car, during my quick break, saying, remember to keep looking at us. I know we're far ahead, but remember to keep checking in. I was like, all right, Dennis, we'll do that, mate. Then down in the second position in P2, it is the 007 Pro Sim car. Again, been a bit anonymous this race, but that's not bad so far. Keeping second and doing very well. And in third position, not too far behind, actually, only 2 seconds in between it. We'll come back to that battle a bit later on. It is the Rare Endurance team. 2.3 seconds is the gap now, and there it is on track. Very little indeed. In your GTE class, it is the 911 Real Esport BMW M8 that leads from its teammate, the 919 BMW M8. Then behind them is the Hyder Esport car again. Now, I heard they had some technical issues with their wheel. Something to do with the wire going from the wheel to their PC, meaning they couldn't shift, so they had to get that fixed. And that's why they dropped that time earlier, Nick. I had that conversation earlier on. So, yeah. Bad luck for those guys. And then we'll pop baback all the way to our GT3s, who are a bit further down the field in terms of overall. Of course, it's Viaducton still leading, commands the lead that Corvette now. Behind them is the ID SimSport, second in class, and third. We have to go quite way back now to find these guys. Is the B32 Racing McLaren. So looking pretty good up and down the field. We'll come back to our battle for P2 though. That was for third and second position between the Pro Sim and Rare team, and it seems that Rare have been catching up somewhat in the last few laps, Nick.
Yeah, the pace is the race is really taken on a life of its own now, and obviously the gaps are coming down. The teams are settled in. Obviously, we've had a couple of driver swaps, so this is where the class of the whole team comes into play. Obviously, it's not a single driver; it's a team race. This one with up to 3 or 4 drivers in each team, and at the minute, the Rare Endurance team is running only 2.9 seconds behind the Pro Sim 007 with Ryder Munich at the wheel of the Orica 07 P2 car.
I think you might have heard us and got a bit of a hurry up on there because the gap is extended by about 0.6 of a second. Now the Rare car coming up on a bit of traffic through Arnage. Probably the best place to get it now because this is where you get to get past these guys on acceleration. Of course, the P2 cars are a lot lighter than the GTE cars. Easily able to out-accelerate. They're going past the Hyder car there, our current third place in GTE. Now watch here from the perspective of the Rare car. Nearly 200 miles per hour on entry here to the Porsche coach. You throw the car to the inside in 4th gear, keep it in 4th all the way through. Let it go nice and easy to the exit. Shift up to 5th, just in between them, back down to 4th. Hug this curb on the right to try and get the best exit possible. Coming on the last left here, the Corvette curve, all the way to the outside. A little bit tardy there, getting to the apex was Reno, and here comes the undercover guys on their way through. Just goes to show that you have to always be checking both in front of you and behind you at all times. Just saying that, the undercover car pits in.
That's the worst thing that can happen at that time. You're setting up for the final turn, and obviously you see the P1 car coming up behind you, so you don't want to impede its progress. So maybe you saw it in plenty of time, and then you're driving along and you see it pull to the right into the pit, and you just shake your head and wish you'd waited. But it's not going to happen. But that was a great description going through the great Porsche curves. Obviously, you have to get the entry right, the first right-hander. Once you get that, you're into the flow, and yeah, it's a great experience all the way through until you hit the 4th chicanes. That's a great sequence. Sector 3 is it's a great drive.
So here is the number 88 endurance racing car here just behind. We've also got our 888 in the pits, as we mentioned just before. Number 88 car had a bit of an issue earlier on. We didn't catch it on camera, unfortunately, because we're very bad at camera work, essentially. But the 88 car had a crash, essentially, in the Porsche curves. We didn't catch it. Apparently, they were at some point facing the wrong way. Which is I'm missing Chris now. As Nick has just described, it's not really ideal for the Porsche curves. We want to be using the downforce, not the sliding. And a big flash of the lights there as they get a bit mixed up coming out of the first chicane. Now, Nick, let's talk a little bit about traffic around here. Seems to be getting a lot of that at the moment. Traffic management can make or break a stint, in my experience. It's one thing being fast over a single lap on your own, but when you have other cars on track, it becomes a whole different art form.
Yeah, when you come up to traffic, you've got to assess the situation where you are on track, the speed, differentials, obviously between P1 especially and the GTE as we have here, and even more so in the GT3. So obviously, depending on which part of the track you're on, obviously, if you come up on them on the Porsche curves where downforce is at a premium, if it drops off, you're going to lose that downforce, and that's where problems occurred. And that could have actually happened to the P1 car when it maybe lost downward traction, and obviously the rear came around. So that's probably one of the reasons that it ended up facing the wrong way, because the rear let go and gave them a spin.
Yeah, very easy to do through there. We saw one of the McLarens having a big incident through there earlier on with our GT3 cars. Of course, not as much downforce in those things, but still easy to do that. So we're now watching at the moment the number one Simtech Motorsport car, currently sitting down in 4th position, which is their qualifying place, but not where they would want to be. And these guys are super competitive. I've encountered them in various series across my sim racing career, in air quotes, I say that, but not. Well, saying that, they are doing some fairly decent lap times right now. Their last lap time was a 3:29.7, which puts them as the fastest P2 on track currently. So Jordan Weeks is currently the wheel of that, looking to try and change their 4th position for something a little bit better. Let's have a look far ahead. Rare Endurance Team is our next car on track. We just saw them recently battling with the Pro Sim guys. They dropped off a bit now, though. Actually catching a little bit of traffic midway through the curves, which is the worst place to catch traffic if you're a prototype driver. There'll be some choice words inside the crash helmet every time that happens. But it ebbs and flows. It's the same for everyone. Sometimes you'll go through there and get a clear run. Other times you will be slightly impeded. We'll pop back down to our GT3 field because I'm not sure we're giving them enough coverage. I think the poor GT3s at the back of the grid. Well, here's one of them. Here's the Black Devil Racing guys right now, currently 5th and last in class. Not really been a good race for them so far, Nick. Last time we checked in, they were crabbing down the straight with quite severe suspension damage, but they are still rolling.
Yeah, that's the point. It's to keep rolling, trying to finish the race. They've come up on a few occasions of unfortunately ran into a few problems, but the main thing is they're carrying on. That's the way these kind of teams want to go. It's not a case of sometimes if you're in this situation when your lap's down, it's a case of finishing. You're here to race, you're here to finish, and that's what their aim will be. It's you against the track now. So the team will have getting together, and that's their target. It's to cross the finish line and get that checkered flag.
Now, speaking about you against the track, dusk is coming, Nick. As you can see, the shadows are getting very long now. In fact, the headlights are starting to make a big dent in the shade. You see the McLaren actually hasn't got their lights on just yet. It won't be too long, I think, until headlights become mandatory, especially in some of the shadier parts of the circuit. And especially in R Factor 2, this time of day,
all teams,
where
this
it gets
race
dark.
Control. Please be aware that headlights on the cars are now required.
I think I just
Headlights
gave
on the
that
car
a
are now required.
reminder. I think I just gave a little bit of a reminder there to turn on the lights. So there you go, headlights coming on now. Wilder number 5, sorry, the 5th place, 130, put that on. No, it has not as of yet. Probably the message being relayed to the driver at the moment as he's trying to find it somewhere on his wheel. But yeah, so now Race Control has given that warning. Anyone who does not comply within the next few minutes will be given probably a bigger warning, and then a drive-through, and then DQ'd eventually. So hopefully they'll respond to that soon.
Yeah, they need the lights at this stage of proceedings. Oh, we've got an off there at the Ford chicane, yeah.
That's the rare car going off. That is the Team RRC. Apologies. Just seemed like another mistake at the Ford chicane. Not the first one we've seen from them through there. It's very tricky when you get the momentum through there because you use so much curb, and if you catch the curb in just slightly the wrong way, it will throw you off into the gravel and bruise the ego somewhat. And now I think the tyres are a little bit worn as the who's driving that right now at 78. It is Thierry Bovo driving the car at the moment, and yeah, it looks a little bit loose as Nick has pointed out. The tyre's probably a bit heated after that little excursion.
Yeah, I think he was a bit optimistic with that final sausage on the curb there. You know what I mean? As he flicks his eyelids. Yeah, if you take too much curb, as Jimmy's just pointed out, it will throw you out left, and that was what came up on him. He's got to be careful because if that carries on, he's going to damage his car at some stage, I'm sure, and obviously take some wear out of the tyres.
I can't help but want to watch the Treble 8 undercover sim racing car just because of the pace they have at the moment. Now, this time last year, I'm fairly sure this team was the Team Kaspersky car, but I think their sponsorship has ended, and now they're back to being undercover. They have about a 30-second gap or so to Team RRC in front, so it'll be a little while before they get there. We do have a pit stop at the moment as well. That is the Satellite Racing 64 from second place in your LMP1 class, so 2 cars ahead of this, and it's likely that the undercover sim racing will actually pass them in the pit lane and gain a position.
We'll have to see. I think at the minute, yeah, they've got a minute and a half on the Team RRC. So depending on whether they're taking fuel and tyres or just a fuel stop, yeah, Joe Ciampa has taken the position. Nick Rowland still in the pits at this minute, getting the full car service. Nicholas Hildebrand in Triple 8 Undercover Sim Racing is now 2 minutes behind, but obviously back on lap 70. They're going to be on, yeah, back on the lead lap. Obviously, lost a lot of time and has actually moved into third overall now from that rough beginning.
So we have Nico Hillebrand currently at the wheel of the undercover sim racing car. A very passionate young man, I think it's fair to say. And I'm sure when I saw they had their incident earlier on, he was one of the first to march out and come to race control and try and work out what was going on. But doing a good job right now in that LMP1 car. Now, guys who are watching the stream, firstly, thank you all for joining. Great to have you here. If you are enjoying the stream, make sure to let it known. Come and say hello in chat. I do have the chat on my phone right now, so feel free to say hello. If you have any questions, I will try and answer them alongside Mr. Nick to the right of me. Otherwise, to sit back and relax. I think we have a driver swap, you've noticed there, Nick.
Yeah, we've got a driver swap in the 64 Satellite race, and then we'll have a full service fuel tyres, and we'll have Antonio Helenovic in the car now. I think that's how you pronounce it. He'll give us a kick if I've got that wrong. So apologies if I have. Yeah, but this guy is pretty quick. So it's going to be a good chase, I think, with Nico. I think Nico's going to enjoy this battle that's going to come up in the next few minutes once he gets himself settled. At the minute, we've still got the number 11 Satellite Racing Eric Smeeder back in the car after taking over from Matt Strand with Joe Ciampa, who you know quite well after racing alongside him for many a time, sitting in P2 in the number 7 Team RRC. And as we've just spoken about, we've got to say the great Triple 8 undercover sim racing team coming back from a lap down, overcoming their problems, getting their head back down and getting into it again after what must have been an absolute gut-wrencher, building up a great lead of 50 plus seconds, I think it was at the time, getting themselves together, dusting themselves down, getting back in the race and absolutely gunning it, as we can say, just putting in qualifying laps time after time, taking chances, it has to be said, but putting the laps in at times 5 to 6 seconds faster than the rest of the field.
I have to think about that setup. They've obviously found something in that car to make it go that fast, because I know Joe Ciampa, he's up there with some of the best, most consistent and best endurance drivers that I've had the pleasure of meeting, and he's just being reeled in here by Hillebrand by about 4 seconds a lap. In fact, last lap 4.7, sort of 4.3 seconds was the amount of time taken out of the Team RRC car, and it won't be long before we see the undercover racing car come up to the back here of Team RRC, and I'm sure drive past. But still a great effort from everyone so far. Quite a way to go yet in this race. One of the joys of a 24-hour race is you look up, goes, oh look, there's been 5 hours have gone, but we still have 19 hours or so left. We don't actually have a timer up on our screen here. I would love to have one, so we get a proper amount of time left. We have a brief kind of one in the bottom left there, but that's done on minutes, so my maths isn't too good. I think we're about nearly just over 4 hours into this race at the moment. So we have a question here in chat from Bacho Grande saying, why isn't there a GTR LM Nismo in this race? Because it's too fast. Well, yeah, there's that as well. But it's because it's too fast and just too superior, and it wouldn't be fair to let these peasants try and drive it.
That's yeah. I must agree. It would have been great to see the fat boy taking on everybody in this race.
Long boy. He's long.
Sorry,
he ain't
no,
fat.
it's fat as well.
You leave him alone. But to be fair, these P1 cars that we have in its place are capable of going a lot faster down the straight than the old long boy was. 350 kph or so we have down the straight in these things. Really is very impressive indeed. And of course, it means passing cars in a straight line is fairly easy. Nick, you seem to have spotted something.
Yeah, it's before Eric actually took over the car. Matt Strand had a problem on the pit. He actually fell foul of the pit speed limiter and obviously had to serve drive-through. And at that point in time, the lead was cut back to 50 seconds. Eric has actually managed to eke out a further 16 seconds since he's jumped into the car. So he's starting to really stretch the legs of the number 11 satellite racing, but obviously there's still a long way to go, and obviously what we've been talking about is the speed of that undercover sim racing car. So we'll have to see how long they can hold out, especially Team RRC, if the guys keep going at the pace that they are, and then see when Battle is joined with the satellite racing car in the lead at the minute.
Or actually, in a minute, we'll go on board when we can, actually with the proper cockpit view for the satellite racing guys, so you can get an idea of just how fast these things accelerate. And they are like rockets. I think that'll be a very fair thing to say down the straight. We're just coming through the Forest S's now. You can see just coming over the little rise up towards Touch Rouge. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's good to know. Apparently, we're being told that one of the drivers from Simtech are looking for a ride to a fast food restaurant. That's a bit beyond my calling as a commentator, I'm afraid. I can't help you with that. But there you go. The message is out. If anyone's going to fast food, go give it to Shane, and he'll be eternally grateful. Yes. You see there, 350 k's down the straight in that LMP1 car. Makes it very easy to get by things in a straight line, of course. What is a straight line from start-finish line to Touch Rouge for on the track map? I can't tell you what that's for, actually. I think it's just maybe a shortcut in case. It's the Joker lap, Turbo.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't tell you. Yes, we have Marius Nikolai in chat saying Enzo Vazzi P1 in class. Yes, he is in the Hyder eSport team. We'll have a camera on them quickly. There they are. They've been fairly dominant, to be fair, so far. I think they've led from the start and not really had any competition at all throughout the race.
For sure. Dennis started that car, obviously, and put in fast laps and like lap after lap, and pulled a real good gap on the rest of the field. Dennis set the fastest time of a 3:27.392. We can see in comparison with Enzo, it could have been traffic affected, but it was a 3:31.8 that last lap that he's did. But Hyder have been dominant. It's fair to say. The team is strong. I know they did a lot of work, and especially yesterday they were doing long run tests. Dennis was in charge of that, and they came away quite happy after the long run test. Very confident this morning. Not overconfident, but they know they've got the pace in the car. They know the quality of the drivers that are going to be in that car. Obviously, we've got Enzo in now. We've got Jordy Spheres, as I would imagine would be next in the car. So it's relentless. The pace will be relentless.
Well, given that I did have a nice chat with Dennis during our cuisine in the cafeteria. Dennis, if you are listening, mate, I'd love to have a word with you up on stage, have a quick chat about the race so far. Of course, Dennis Lind, a real-life Super Trofeo driver, and a fairly decent one at that, and also very familiar with the P2 well, he's a P2 driver in the various championships we run. Nick, of course, is P2 driver here as well. Very quick indeed. I'd love to see him make that transition in real life if that ever becomes possible for him. So, Here we are then, watching the Hyder Esport car coming over, or under I should say. They've done at Lot Bridge. I've been across that in real life, Nick. Lots of graffiti on the inside, and when you think of graffiti and you think of males doing graffiti, what do you think of? You think of that, don't you? It's just covered, absolutely covered, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But still a very cool sensation to go through that. You can see we've got a great view right now of our race control. A bit of a queue for them at the moment. They're down to the right.
Yeah, it looks like they may be coming into a little bit of business there. Obviously, if teams come into problems throughout the race, various incidents or whatever, there is a formula that they go through, and race control will look at it and make the decision based on what they see, not on what the team lodging the complaint will say. They'll make a decision, and obviously teams will have to abide by that outcome.
Well, I'll tell you something that I loved earlier on. It's race control said, if you wreck someone else's race, we will wreck your race.
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah, very aggressive statement from race control. If you end up being naughty, we'll come and give you a slap on the wrist. Now, we have Apollo Victoria saying in chat that I want to see Coin. Now, Coin is a nickname of one of the sim racers here right now. He's actually one of the pit crew for the team RRC. So if he is listening to this broadcast, because Dennis Lynn definitely isn't, then feel free to come say hello. Be great to have you on stage, Coin, if you feel like it. If not, then I guess don't, and we'll continue as it is. There's a man we will have on stage later on, and that's a Sorensen making his way over to the driving room right now, conveniently ignoring me. He's very good at doing that. Whenever I see him, I give him a little wave, and he just goes nope and walks straight past me, which is very good of him. That's part of the challenge round here. Is it seems that sim drivers are almost the same as real drivers. They don't want to talk to you ever.
Nope. They just keep the helmet on and just walk straight past. And the fact that you failed to mention there about Coin, what shirt is he wearing?
Oh, he's wearing a very nice shirt indeed. Well, I can't tell you what it is until he comes up and shows it off, really, can I?
That's why I never mentioned it.
That's all. Yeah,
I wanted to keep our guests on the edge of the seat, but it is well worth waiting for.
Definitely, I'd agree with that one. Here is the team that Mr. Sorensen belongs to, the 911 Real Esport BMW M8, making its way past our second place McLaren, and I think you spotted something there, Nick.
Yeah, we've got the next round of pit stops happening within the P2 field. We've got the number 3 Rare Endurance, number 1 Simtech, and the number 55 IRDK Endurance all in the pits together.
I tell you what, Nick, I've just noticed that it looks fairly close between. It was fairly close between. I think that was Simtech and maybe Rare. We'll wait until they come out the pit lane and we'll see what. Here is Rare coming out the pit lane now, and look behind. There is Simtech. They're a bit further behind there on the pit lane, so they won't be quite as close as they were when they came into the pits. But that is a battle to watch for sure there. And Jordan Weeks has been putting in some very impressive lap times.
Yeah, he's doing really well, isn't he? Before he came into the pit, he's keeping the pace honest of the Rare Endurance team, and that's all you can ask from your driver, to keep the team that they're chasing down honest in their endeavours and trying to keep in front of you. Obviously, traffic management again will come into play from both guys, especially if battle is joined and they meet up in the wrong place for a P car, which it could be going into Ornage, coming into Indianapolis before that, or indeed the Porsche curves. So let's keep an eye on that. It's definitely going to happen as we speak. Enzo Fazi enters the pits from the lead in the number 30 Hyder eSports car. Remember, they've been in the lead from the drop of the green flag, and the gap is quite consistent, nice and steady. So we'll see how it goes. It's a minute. At present, the gap is 3 minutes 13 seconds to the number 3 Rare Endurance team. So the pace from the Hyder cars being quite impressive throughout this event to build up that kind of lead this far into the race.
Definitely, I say the same is true for the Rare team. They weren't quite as I guess prolific, would say, at last year's race than they had been here. A lot definite improvement in speed over last year's race, and looking to hopefully challenge the Hyder guys. Unfortunately, the Hyder guys are in a different league at the moment, as we'd say there, but Rare at the moment should be more focusing on what's behind them, which is the Simtech car, of course, with Jordan Weeks, who is looking very quick at the moment. We'll have to keep our eyes on that.
Yeah, the gap is built up to 4.7 seconds from Simtech chasing down the number 3 Rare Endurance racer racing team. So battle will be closed down. I think we'll see what the first timed lap is in a couple of laps. Obviously, the lap time that they're going to present coming out the pits is not the real kind of time that they're presenting. It would, I would imagine, be in the region of the 3:30, 3:29 that they're aiming for. But obviously, we had Jordan Weeks gave out a 3:28 about 4 laps ago on low fuel. So obviously, the pace is definitely there.
It turns out right now you're on your screen. You're getting some live timing to give you an idea of what is going on right now and where battles are happening, or rather where they're not happening. We're in the stage of the race now where everyone's a little bit spread out. The closest battle on track is the one you're watching at the moment between the Rare Endurance team and Simtech in the P2 for 2nd and 3rd in class. Simtech making their way back up. It seems that Jordan Weeks is doing fairly decent job at wheeling that Orica P2. Look at him through the Porsche curves. Wow, he's caught right up here. Here we go. Right on the back. Now, I'm not quite sure what happened there. A bit of a mistake there from the Rare Endurance guy. I didn't catch that. I think he was just very slow through the curves. And here comes Jordan Weeks. Looks to the inside here. I don't think he's quite close enough to that. No, he's not. Goes back into the toe of the Rare Endurance car. But wow, he's really gained some time there.
Yeah, he was down to 3 seconds. I was just about to point out to you that the gap had closed by a second down to 3.1. And next thing we knew, going into Porsche curves, it looks like he's going to have it.
And here we go then, Nick, going up to Dunlop, goes up the inside of the first right-hander, makes it look like the guy in the Rare car is driving, well, he's just having out for a Sunday drive. Jordan goes around the inside of T1, you very rarely see that, then round the outside of T2, and there goes that Simtech car, now rocketing off into the distance. Goodbye, Rare, says Jordan.
He's got no answer. Could there be a problem in the car because the gap was closed within the sector, it looked like, and then he had no answer going into turn 1, and now he's gone. He just had no reply.
I mean, I'd say possibly maybe the car running with a different downforce configuration, but that was you don't gain 2 seconds through the Porsche curves unless you are essentially cutting a track or taking the line that we have on our track map for some reason from the pit straight to Tete Rouge. But that was a great series of corners for Jordan. And now he'll be trying to hunt down the Hyder car, but he's got a long way to go to do that.
Yeah, he's 2.5 minutes behind the Hyder car, but there's a long way to go in this race. And obviously at the minute, not wishing to give them any ill luck at all, Hyder have had a really clean race, have no issues whatsoever. Obviously, they're racing to a game plan. The game plan is actually working. And now Simtech, obviously, have the number 1 car simply because they won this event last year. And now that's really beginning to show, whereas earlier, it seemed like they were a little bit off the pace, but maybe the track and the event is coming back to them.
Indeed, and if anyone from Simtech is listening, I'm going to pretend that you are listening. Feel free to come up to the stage, have a chat with us. I know you have a very good cause you guys are running with today. It'll be good to talk with you about that and let our stream know. Of course, we are here for quite a bit longer yet. We'll be covering the first 8 hours, myself and the team, with myself, Chris, who's currently sitting and watching. Give me a bit of a wink, thank you, Chris, and Nick to the right, and then we'll be back for the last 8 hours and hopefully have someone in between to come say hello and keep you guys occupied in that meantime.
Yeah, we've got a change of position at the front of the field from P3 down to P4 as the 64 Satellite Racing, and going the other way, we've got the 888 Undercover Sim Racing with Nico Hildebrand has moved the car back up to 3rd position, so that it's a great comeback from that car. Now they're chasing down number 77 team RRC with Joe Ciampa in the car. The gap at present is 2 minutes, but at the present it looks like that's gonna soon come down as well. But Undercover have made a great recovery drive, and that's what it is at this present. But now it's a chase down for, at the minute, a podium spot that they hold. But obviously they've got the sights set a little bit higher. Their target is obviously the number 11 Satellite Racing, but at present the next main target is the 77 team RRC, and I'm sure they'll be closed up very, very soon.
Now, Nick, you've been on the pit wall virtually, of course, for teammates. they'll all know that the undercover car is coming, won't they? They'll all know this thing is coming at a rate of knots. How do you deal with that knowledge?
You deal with it by trying to ignore it and drive your own race, because you know they've got the pace. You can see your lap times in comparison with their lap times, and if you can't match it, why try it? So you're just gonna run your own race, and if it happens, it happens. But at present, do your own thing. So hopefully we're going to have a guest. We've got somebody from SimTech up, and Jimmy's going to get them sorted, ready to have a little interview. And at present, we've got SimTech are chasing down the 30 Hyder car. So we're going to ready for another interview. We'll let Jimmy take a part of that one, and yep, hand over to Jimmy, who's got a member of the SimTech team who answered the call to his left. Thank you very much.
We have Shane Burke joining us up on the stage. Hello, Shane. Good to see you. See if you've worked out your push. He's worked out his push to talk. Fantastic. Good to have you here. So, Shane, it's been a decent start for you guys. Currently sitting in P2. In P2. Did you figure you'd be there after qualifying, or maybe a bit of a surprise for you guys?
It's a huge surprise. Honestly, we've done no testing. It was like 3 days before we left. We decided to do a bit of testing. Big thanks to Satellite, who gave us a base setup so we could start somewhere. Yeah, pace has not been really there. We found a good bit of pace towards the end, but qualifying was a little disappointing. My first qualifying could have gone quicker, got held up, but we were like, okay, yeah, second, third. Then this second qualifying didn't go according to plan, but still P4. We were like, okay, long race. Started the race, wasn't ideal. Wrong tires, everything was just going wrong. But the battling was great. 3 wide, like on the second lap, coming into turn 1. I decided if we can't really fight for the win, let's make it entertaining. But I don't think anyone's seen our battle, so I risked a lot for no reason. But no, it's been great fighting Rare and the other guys. It's been close battling, but no chance for the win. Them guys out in front are just aliens. But in the long run, we finally got the strategy right. Maybe P2 at best, but still, it's a long race. I don't even know how long's left, so who knows?
I don't think anyone does, but I was going to say to you, we were watching some of the battles at the start, of course, and I would usually say it's a long race, don't be doing stuff like that. But you kind of went, I guess, full me at the start of that race in 2017 and just put caution to the wind. I thought a couple of times that you were going to, that'll be it. You were very close to having contact with people through that period. Just in the back of your head, you're not thinking this is a long race, or just right. I'm gonna have these guys. I'm gonna get past them. Does that thought prevail in that situation?
I put a lot of trust in the cars I'm lapping or passing. You have to put the trust in. If you have doubt within anyone, that's where the accidents happen. You maybe go alongside them, not fully, don't do the move right, and then it ends up in tears. It's either you do the move or you don't do the move, and you have to trust the guys that they're not going to turn across you and stuff like that. And so yeah, there was a few moments where maybe lapping GTs, they were not aware of me there. Like at one stage, a GT put me on the wrong side, and I was coming up to 2 other GTs who obviously didn't know I was there, and it was cutting in through them. It's just dodgy, but you have to stick to your decision, whether it's right or wrong, because if you're the one that's backing out of these moves, it just goes horribly wrong. So it may look dodgy, but I believe in my moves, I believe in the people around me, so it's not too bad, I suppose, from my end.
I'll tell you what, Shane, tell us a bit about the rig you're using, because every time it came here last year, I didn't get to have a go last year. It's looking like I'm not going to get to have a go this year either. But I'd say probably from my point of view, anyway, probably the best rig here. Talk us through it a bit. One of the Nordic Sim Gear guys bringing that in for you guys.
Jimmy, I honestly don't know. I know there's OSW on it. Yeah, homemade rig. There is a butt kicker, but we're not allowed to use that because of regulations or something. Triple screen, it's pretty nice. Other than that, I just know how to drive. I'm not really great at this technical stuff, so I will send Kenneth up here, but do check out Nordic Sim Gear on Facebook. You'd probably find all the information there.
There you go. That's a very amicable way of dealing with that. I don't know. Go and look for yourself. There you go. So from now, what's the plans? You kind of just said that the Hyder guys are aliens, of course. I actually got to speak to Mr. Lind during my very quick break, and he seems pretty confident with the car at the moment. Just hope for something to maybe happen there and keep the pace. I mean, you don't wish ill will on anyone when racing, but sometimes you do just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But I know Dennis won't do anything. He destroyed everyone in the VEC Le Mans, so I know already he is stupidly quick here. So yeah, Dennis alone, he won't do anything. He's gonna be perfect. His teammates, I'm not too sure really. You never know. Maybe we hope a little bit something happens, but I highly doubt it. They've put in the preparation. They have the car. They have the drivers. So if something does happen, yeah, we'll be there to take advantage, hopefully. But even if it's a small incident they have, they'll still probably come back from that incident and still could win. So yeah, you never know, I suppose.
I'll be watching that with great interest. Before we let you go, Shane, you guys are racing with a specific charity cause in mind. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, Cancer Research UK. Unfortunately, it's been a tough year for myself and other members in Simtech with family having cancer, and we chose the UK because it's kind of basically in the middle of Simtech. Like there's Irish and guys in Belgium and all this stuff, so we just went for the centre and fully supporting them. We're trying to raise money. We raised maybe £800 when we done the Le Mans 24-hour kart race, hoping to raise maybe a few £100 here. So if anyone can donate anything, please go to Cancer Research UK. You can go to our Facebook page and donate through our link there. Just anything at all. Even if you see us, throw something at us and we'll throw it in a box. So any little helps.
Yeah, pretty decent cause. I think we can all agree with that. Well, thank you very much, Shane, for joining us up on stage. It's been great having you. We'll let you go back to your team now, and we'll probably come and grab you at some point a little bit later on and get you a bit of a race update.
Cool, no bother. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks. At present during that interview, we've got the gap opened up from satellite to 888 undercover sim racing, now in P2 in the P1 class, up to 220. So satellite racing have now, the 64 is now up to third, team RRC 77 down in fourth. So it's all changing even during that interview, as we alluded to earlier on. Mr. Hildebrand has got the pedal to the metal, hasn't he?
Yep, using the as I said, the strong emotion he carries with him when he races. Not all of it good sometimes, but putting it to good use here around Le Mans and really reeling in everyone around him. 2 minutes 18 now is a gap between himself and the leader. I want to just make a quick apology to the guys watching on Twitch. We are having some brief internet issues every now and then, but we're just trying to oh hello, as the brain goes off there, but we're just trying to get those sorted for you, so stick around.
Yeah, I was just about to say that Nico, before he come into the pits, his lap time was a 3:19.0, and we had Eric Schmieder with a 3:20.3 in reply. And apart from that, we had Per Kvist at a 3:19.9. So we've got three teams really within a second of each other, and the rest of the guys are 3 to 4 seconds off the pace. So we've got three cars really laying some good lap times down. But once more, we've got Undercover doing the best.
As I have been so far, it's been a great race and lots more still to come. We're going to go to a quick commercial break.
Complete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
How do you feel when someone is looking over your shoulder? Not all snoopers can be seen. Cyber criminals can steal your sensitive information. Hackers can intercept your data on public Wi-Fi. But not with the NordVPN app. It helps protect your privacy by encrypting your online data, and it's so easy to use. NordVPN, your shield from online snoopers. Download and enjoy trusted internet security and privacy.
We live in a world where we often forget the consequences of our overconsumption. At Refurb, we want to change that particular habit, which is why we purchase large amounts of used, quality computers from companies and subsequently restore and reuse them. When we receive the computers, we perform data deletion, renovate, and test them to make sure they are once again like new. Many have already realized that you can save a lot of money without compromising, simply by reusing. Get more for less and be the positive change by reusing.
So Next Level Meal is a meal replacement. So if you've ever heard of Soylent or one of those other products, the idea is that instead of eating a meal, you drink it or you eat a bar. That's what Next Level Meal is. The difference being that it actually tastes good. For me, I use Next Level Meal when I'm traveling or when I want to replace the worst meal that I'm going to eat in a given day. And the reason that I'm excited about this particular food is because its basis is real food.
With so much of my life stored on my PC, I can't afford to take any chances. That's why I choose Kaspersky Antivirus to help keep me safe. It protects me from viruses and spyware without slowing me down. My PC keeps performing as it was designed to, and nothing gets in my way. Get award-winning protection for your PC. Kaspersky Antivirus.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Endurance eRacing World Championships here in Denmark, in Middelfart, organised by the guys at GTR 24. And we might have lost Nick Newcombe to his dinner break, but we've gained Chris McCarthy, and more importantly, we've gained Coin. Coin is one of the fellows doing pit work for Team RRC. Say hello, Coin.
Hello, the one and only Coin is here.
Great to see you, mate. Now, of course, we've raced together. You are actually wearing a very fashionable-looking GNS jersey right now, I must say. Very nice-looking thing is that. I want to very quickly talk about what it's like to be behind the scenes around here, because, of course, a lot of people driving, but you're not. You're just helping out on the pit wall. What do you do back there? What are you doing when you're helping out the guys?
Actually, I'm just staring at the screen and just trying to figure out what I'm looking at. It's something I'm really not used to. Like, that's just the interest. Like, I'm interested in whatever is happening in the race, and just trying to find a strategy and maybe lead the driver to what is better to do at any given moment. It's kind of interesting, like a completely different perspective, actually.
Well, we're used to just messing up races between us, aren't we? With terrible spreadsheets that we make before the race begins. But back there, you've got full telemetry, track maps there as well, full RPM numbers, bits like that, and it kind of allows you to, as you say, look a bit further forward. Right now, your guys, we've got Headless Joe in the car at the moment. He's currently running in second position. Did you guys expect to be this high, or?
Well, we didn't actually. We hope that there's a slight chance to finish P2. We were not targeting for P1 by long shot. Well, but in general, we're just here to mostly have fun, and so far it's been great.
Well, I tell you what, that'd be a good question to lead into. It's your first time at the GTR 24. Very different from anything we do. When we sim race, of course, we're locked in our little rooms, get rid of all the light, you know, and you sit and drive for how many hours in a row. Of course, here we have the team area, which we're in right now, and the full sports hall to the right, dedicated to all the rigs. I mean, I'm a bit of a, well, I say I'm a bit of a sim nerd, that'd be an understatement, but all the different types of equipment there, I just love going in there and just looking at everything. How do you feel about just walking into this room full of awesome sim rigs?
Well, when I first went into there, I kind of felt like, no, I'm not a sim racer. This is sim racing. I'm just a pleb that's sitting on my PC and turning the thing around and sort of driving around. But yeah, this is the amount of rigs, the ingenuity, or whatever the thing is, it's crazy. The rig with all these different joints, or this, yeah, it's amazing actually. Just looking at this.
Yeah, there are some guys, it's hard to really explain it, but there's one rig which is a T500 with universal joints that just, I don't really know what it must do to the force feedback. I can't imagine there's any force feedback at that point, but it basically makes the shaft from the base to the wheel about 1.5 meters long compared to where it's just stuck on the base before. It's very strange indeed, but we won't keep you too much longer, Coin. I'm sure the team is struggling without you being there. Before I let you go, any shout outs maybe anyone you want to mention, say hello to?
Well, actually, I have 3. Just in general, the team, just for doing a great job so far, and 2 people who aren't actually here, and they were supposed to be here. So, my good friend Nate and Bailey for being a lazy.
Hey, you don't continue that sentence. I know what word you're going to use. So
Yeah,
don't be using
that's
that.
why I stopped.
But thank you so much for joining us, Coin. It's been great having you. I'll let you get back to your team, and I guess we'll get back to the race. Chris.
Yeah, we had an off there. You would have picked it up on the stream. Someone rejoining the track. There was an off while that interview was going off. We did catch it on the screen, but we caught what was perhaps the end of it, as it was a car rejoining circuit. So see if I could figure out who it was. I'll run through what you missed
In the break, DGTL passed Team Bernie. We Endurance Racing team, they came into the pits. Satellite 64, the 64 car, they set a personal best and then came into the pits, so a good way to end their stint. Real Esport, the 919 car, PB for them as well. And Lithium are continuing to progress up the order. Of course, the P2 car that ran out of fuel earlier in the race, and they are now up to 14th.
I think they entered 2 cars. I'm unsure if they were allowed to rejoin, but I guess they were. They are still running because as you said, we saw them run out of fuel earlier on.
Maybe it is 2 cars, yeah.
Maybe it is. There you go. Good job, Chris.
Oh yeah, well, me and Nick don't look very. Yeah, that is true. I can't count. Wow.
It's all right. Don't worry about it, mate. Yeah, it's been a fairly uneventful last few minutes or so. People now settling into their rhythm. So currently watching the undercover sim racing treble 7 car. They are running 8th in class at the moment. Peter No at the helm of that, about 50 odd seconds behind the nearest competitor. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky there as a driver. Bear in mind, of course, you're driving around, you're getting the night times coming in, the headlights are getting brighter and brighter in front. But for the drivers, it becomes very difficult at this point of the evening to spot braking zones, given how the lighting is managed in Factor 2. It gets a bit better as it gets darker, but right now, this is the part of the race where you really have to be aware. A famous driver once said you have to be aware on a street circuit, you have to be aware at Le Mans as well. I can see Chris feverishly looking through his notes there. Have you missed something? I think, yes, it was the number 215 Lithium we lost earlier. So is that the one you were chatting about just a second ago?
Yes, it was. Yeah. So, yep, there they are, the P2 car.
Okay, so they have come back.
We were down to 32 cars at one stage. We lost at the start, wasn't it? One of the Team RRC cars, I think, way down the one of the GT3 cars, I think, that was not able to start the race, and that dropped us down to 33 cars before we even got going, wasn't it? So, yeah, then we were briefly down to 32, but looks like 33 still going, and Lithium up to 14th.
And although we did have that issue there with the Team RRC car, 33 cars starting this race meant that we still had 19 more cars than last year, Chris, take part in this race, which is absolutely fantastic question. I see Dennis Lind there. He's trying to hide from me in the background. Dennis, you want to come up here and have a word? I think he's going to talk to race control first, then he's going to come up here. Yes, he is. He's not giving me a nod.
He's going to find the Mountain Dew.
Finds the Mountain Dew. So it'd be great to have a chat with Dennis Lind. Dennis Lind, of course, one of the drivers from the Hyder eSport team, currently leading in.
Here he is.
Oh, he's come around the long way there. That's not the way onto the stage, Dennis. But he's
through race control and then onto the stage.
I'll let Chris have a chat for a second, and we'll get Dennis all set up for his interview.
Thank you, Jimmy. Well, let's just talk about some of the battles going on circuit. Well, Satellite leading the way. Team RRC. Of course, we just had Coin on stage, not planning to challenge for the win, or at least weren't expecting to, but 1 minute 22 back. Undercover Sim Racing then around 70. Something's happened to Rare Racing, is it? Let's go to them very quickly. The Rare Endurance team, is it the P2 car that's had some problems? I think we're gonna. Are we gonna have a replay of that? At the moment, we are on a freeze frame of Rare, so I think we should maybe roll back. Let's have a look. There's something's happened to the Rare Endurance team. Now they are 8th, 3rd in class at the moment, and oh well, who knows? Who knows? Something. He's been up here that long. He's seeing things now. But the Rare Endurance team, have they hit problems? We'll find out next time they cross the line, I guess. At the moment, they're just coming up to the... they're coming into the pits. So if something's happened, then they are coming into the pits. So potential damage for the Rare Endurance team. But I think our guest from the Hyder team is now ready to go. So, Jimmy, over to you for the interview.
Yes, I'm joined by Dennis Lind. Dennis, thank you very much for joining us up on stage. Just took a little bit of bribery to get you up here. Looking pretty good for you guys. Currently running first in class, and that's where you've been the entire race. I mean, perfect start, really, so far.
Yeah, it's not too bad, really. We're just doing what we came here to do, and we're performing quite well at the moment, and that's we're going to try and keep doing that.
That's not really a bad mantra to have at the moment. The car looking very steady through the high speed stuff. In terms of preparation for this event, how many laps preparation would you say went into this in terms of setup, building, and getting the team all up to the same pace? I mean, what kind of prep in general goes into an event like this?
A lot. I mean, we know quite a lot about LMP2 already because we are interested in 2 Series running that car. So we are quite active with it, but Le Mans itself, we were doing quite a lot of work before. Me not, because I was away, but the guys have been putting in quite a big effort to make sure this event went pretty unscathed.
Again, seems to be going fairly well in that department so far. Now, of course, you yourself, Dennis, you are a real-life driver. You drive in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and so, of course, coming from that to this, not really the same type of car, of course. You drive a kind of GT-style car there. This is more of a prototype. But I always like to ask the question of how much of your real-life racing knowledge will transfer to sim and vice versa. Well, what have you got for us there? Give us some good news, Dennis.
Well, actually, it's quite close, I would say. We are not too far away from real life numbers and setups and so I think we are getting closer. Obviously, there's a lot of things about what you're feeling inside the car that is not correct yet, but it's progressed a lot. I mean, the last 5 years of sim racing has been absolutely crazy. The progression of every sim there is has been a bit crazy, so yeah.
Well, I remember about 5 years ago, the peak of sim racing being driving some sort of Skoda mod in R Factor 1, and now here we are, of course, all 3 of us, including Chris, up on the stage talking about R Factor 2 and watching the day slowly turn to night. Now, from here on, I mean, you've got a very long way in this race to go yet. How much have you got to drive still? I mean, when are you next in the car?
I'm not sure if we're going to do a full rotation of drivers first because we have 4 drivers in the LMP2. But we will see. It will either be 8 hours or 40 minutes. Somewhere in between that time. Is that good enough?
That'll do. I'll give you that for now. That's fine. Well, thank you very much, Dennis. I've just noticed there's a car off in the background. I think we just had a retirement, Chris. B32 Sim Racing have just escaped back to the pit lane. We'll come back to that in just 2 seconds because you can see that coming. Well, thank you very much for joining us on stage, Dennis. He's going now. I appreciate that, mate. Have a good one. That was Dennis Lind from Hyder Esport. I think he was keen to get out of here very quickly. But just in the background there, we saw B32 having an off. We haven't got the replay of that, but they were facing backwards coming up to Indianapolis.
Yes, so problems there for B32 Racing. Once leading this, unfortunately. I don't know if we have a problem for Azatec or if they're just in the pits, but maybe we can find them and see. There's B32 rejoining.
Apologies, I don't think it was B32. I think it was Azatec that had the issue.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, I read the timing wrong there. So there is B32 actually rejoining from their pit stop in 4th position, but Azatec, who were in 3rd, are now in the pits and kind of staying there.
Yeah, so Azatec, I don't know if it's damage or just generally stuck in the pits. If we're going to see them again, hopefully we do. But went yellow pretty much as soon as you kind of started the interview there, and wasn't too sure if that was just them coming into the pits or not, if they were on the limiter. But unfortunately, it seems a little bit more terminal than that. IRDK have come into the pits. As has Hyder, they've just come into the pits as well. Enzo bringing the car into the pits, and we are now on board with the Real Esport team. They are leading the way in the GTE class. Fellow team car GTE. Real Esport in the 919, sorry, just behind, around 31 seconds back.
Yep, nice and easy for them right now. The 911 Real Esport car just making their way through the Forest S's for the 74th time of asking. We do have the stream chat open here, so if you have any questions or anything you're just curious to know, feel free to pop it in the chat. Of course, I'd also like to pose the question of how many laps do you think we're going to get through here in today's event? We're already 74 laps in, a long way yet to go, so any guesses would be going to be a bit of fun. I'm not quite sure what we did last year, though. So the real eSport car just flashing its light there at the satellite car on the way down to the first Mulsanne chicane. You can see it really is getting dark now, Chris. And of course, we're at the period where the headlights aren't quite doing their job properly yet, so it's still a little bit tricky for the drivers to see.
Yeah, it is. I'd say, yeah, at the moment, yeah, we're getting to that stage where I was talking to Nick about that earlier, about when it's actually going to go really pitch black, what that's going to be like in terms of the P1 and P2 class trying to get through traffic. But in terms of those two classes, it's fairly spread out at the moment. Rare Endurance trying to close in on IRDK. They're around 8 seconds back at the moment, but there's no real battles going on in the P1 class, to be honest. Undercover Sim are 25 seconds ahead of Satellite Racing in the 64. That is kind of your closest battle, really, between the 5 P1 cars. So nothing to report there at the moment. Looking further down the field, class leaders still Hyder Esport, Real Esport, via Duketon as well.
Yep, so the GT3 class has been fairly quiet this race, because we expected as much, especially when we only had 6 starters. I think only down to 5 runners now from what I can see, so at this point just a bit slow for everyone to get running. Not really much competition there, but when there is, we'll let you know. Doesn't mean, of course, their race is any less important than those who are also on track. So getting tonight, it provides a unique challenge for our drivers. Of course, there aren't many sims nowadays that actually provide the full nighttime experience, so other sims are now starting to catch up to R Factor 2 in that aspect. Of course, driving at night, it's all about remembering your marks. You were talking to Nick about it earlier before we went through his little lunch break, and he was saying that you try and get into a rhythm around here. You try and just make sure you're spotting your braking marks, making sure you're braking in the right place, accelerating in the right place, turning in at the right place. That always helps. But of course, it can get easy to get a little bit lax in that situation, end up making a mistake or two.
Oh, well, I didn't realise that was a question.
It is now.
Yes, I guess it. I guess it can. Yeah, I guess that's why it's important to have those markers, isn't it? When I did try a couple of the rigs out, that was one thing I was trying to know. I wonder where those markers are. Having actually watched some of the fast guys go around, I was picking a few of them out. But you've just got to get into a rhythm, haven't you? I guess don't go at 100%. Perhaps bring it down to 80, 70 perhaps, and more importantly, just make sure you're getting through the traffic. I think one thing you've got to take into consideration is traffic is definitely going to be more difficult. You're going to have to, I think, take your time even more getting around the GT cars if you're in a P1 car. So keep out of trouble. If you have an incident in this race, oh, that's not good. Lost timing. I've made several mistakes.
Well, I'll just say, whilst Chris reevaluates his life there on the second monitor,
it's not good.
When you're being lapped by another car in the slower classes at night, I'd say it's actually somewhat easier, because you just see this bright glare of lights up behind you. Go, right, there's a car closing on me now. But of course, on the flip side, though, having a bright glare of lights can be fairly distracting in the mirror.
Yeah, but how do you know when it's when they're literally right behind you? Because quite bright the lights, aren't they? So even from a distance, they can look quite prominent. So when you're approaching say one of the chicanes that we're coming up to now, it's how do you know you're going to turn in and those headlights aren't just going to start diving down the inside? So I'm personally I haven't really got an experience doing nighttime runs or anything, but I'd say that's probably going to be one of the more difficult things. I'd personally just be waiting for the straights to do any moves, lapping any cars. Sorry, but let me stop. It's kind of I don't even know what I was starting to talk about towards the end, but one battle I am just seeing is Rare Endurance versus IRDK. It's getting quite close. That is for 4th in the P2 class.
This will get a camera on that. And there is IRDK, and there is Rare in the background. Of course, now we're met with 2 sets of very bright LMP2 lights instead of being able to see the liveries as clearly as before. Coming now down to the Mulsanne corner. Looks like Rare coming back after whatever incident that there was definitely an incident. I did see one. The car spun in a straight line and hit the wall. I saw it on Nick's monitor, which is why we couldn't replay it on this one. But I think he might have had some kind of damage, because the Rare car is now down in 5th position, whereas before it was challenging for 3rd. So having a kind of a couple of issues there is Reno, currently at the helm of that car. We'll pop back on board with him to give you an idea of what it's like to follow someone in these dimming conditions. You can see the headlights there creating a nice path of light in front and starting to fade off towards the left and the right. And you see, wow, the IRDK car gets the first part of Indy, all sorts were wrong, and almost goes off actually in the first right hand and manages to slow it down for the left though. Now through to Arnage, and this will spice things up. Chris, got a bit of traffic coming here as well. That's one of the real esports guys, so one of our leading GTE cars plus 2 P2s battling. Always a good time.
Yeah, well, this is going to get interesting in the second half of this lap then. IRDK just ahead of us, 4th in class this is for. 30 seconds rather up the road from this is ProSim, who are 3rd in class, and here we go in the Porsche curves. Worst place to catch a GT car. IRDK, nothing they can do now. They're going to have to wait until we get to the end of this section, and then it looks like, there we go, just round the outside at the right-hander, able to get through, and in fact they've done a very good job there, has to be said, I think, to get past Rare Endurance following them through.
I'm going to do the naughty now and go to a replay live on stream. That looked like that was a little bit robust for my liking by the Rare guys, and a flash of a light from the real esports fellas kind of tells me that they think the same thing. Here is the replay. So we're just coming around the second curve now up towards the Corvette curve. There goes the IRDK around the outside, and here comes our fellas in the comes across and actually has contact with the M8. That wasn't really worth it. You see the M8 flashing its lights in protest behind, and I'll be interested to see what race control think of that. But of course, a feature of this event here is that any event that isn't reported to race control will not be investigated.
Yeah, there's a spreadsheet, isn't there, where they can just basically fill it in live during the race, and then the guys to our right will watch the replays back as we have just done. I'd be surprised if anything more comes of that. I mean, I think they had to kind of go for the move there. They had they saw the gap. They've gone for it, but coming up to the night part of the race, it's could often lead to something like that. However, they have kept themselves well within reach of IRDK in doing so, and now it looks like they could be making a move. Oh, and they're repeating that. Well, same thing once again. As they get to the end, as they get to the curb, IRDK have already made the move and keen to get past as quickly as possible. Rare trying to do the same, and that almost led to more contact there. So Reno, I think, maybe just needs to take it down a peg or two here.
I think so too, and just being a bit impatient. He's got the pace over the fella in front, the IRDK car, definitely, because he's gaining in even after these kind of semi-mini incidents. Is really keen on pushing the issue. And the point is, we are nowhere near the middle of this race, let alone the end of this race. Making low percentage moves like that only ever ends one way. And now look, already on the back of the IRDK, and he's just going to pass him in a straight line, because he has that pace advantage most likely. Anyway, saying that, the IRDK car, it's not going to make it easy. Coming down to the Mulsanne corner, then tries it around the outside, sweeps back in. Thank you very much, Sunshine. I'll take that. Rare up into 4th in class.
Yep, 4th place. There we go. So that's Rare Endurance now into 4th. Next up for them is going to be ProSim, some 31 seconds ahead now. Comparison in lap times. Rare doing 3:34 last time, and ProSim did a 3:32, but we do have to take into consideration the contact they had at the end of the Porsche curves there, and also the attempted move into the first chicane. But now through, and IRDK dropping back. But as you said, they could have just not taken the risks in lapping the 2 cars that they did, and probably still would have got past them on this lap anyway. But that's all something they can look back on, and I'm sure they'll be being told about that, the Rare Endurance team. So yeah, that's changed for 4th in the P2 class.
Well, sometimes you kind of just see red, so to speak. Right, okay, I'm going to get past now. I've seen this guy. I'm catching him. I need to be past him. I should be past him. And of course, then you make silly moves like that. But it's all done and dusted now. We'll see if anything does come of it. We will let you know. Nothing as of yet. And here we are, actually riding on board with the IRDK car. We've rather lovingly called them the I Really Don't Know car. And we've actually a P1 that come flying past on the left. There it is, our leader, our satellite racing, currently driven by Eric Schmieder. I must say, the gap to Undercover is coming down slightly, but not as much as I thought it would do. Last lap round, the Undercover car was about 3 seconds faster than our LMP1 leader. But the gap is still over 2 minutes. I thought by now we'd probably see it be a minute 30, but they seem to be holding off fairly well at the top of the field satellite.
Yep, doing very well out front. 3:20 last time around, but Satellite, who the Satellite car in 3rd, going along very well in terms of their lap times. This is our overall race leader, the other Satellite car. Now I'm just going to look down the field and see what other battles we have going on as we on screen stay with our overall race leader just for the time being. In fact, really, at the moment, with various different strategies being played out, nothing much to talk about down the field.
Yes, well, we'll come back to that when we have a bit more information. In the meanwhile, we will go to a commercial break.
So Next Level Meal is a meal replacement. So if you've ever heard of Soylent or one of those other products, the idea is that instead of eating a meal, you drink it or you eat a bar. That's what Next Level Meal is. The difference being that it actually tastes good. For me, I use Next Level Meal when I'm traveling or when I want to replace the worst meal that I'm going to eat in a given day. And the reason that I'm excited about this particular food is because its basis is real food.
With so much of my life stored on my PC, I can't afford to take any chances. That's why I choose Kaspersky Antivirus to help keep me safe. It protects me from viruses and spyware without slowing me down. My PC keeps performing as it was designed to, and nothing gets in my way. Get award-winning protection for your PC. Kaspersky Antivirus.
How do you feel when someone is looking over your shoulder? Not all snoopers can be seen. Cyber criminals can steal your sensitive information. Hackers can intercept your data on public Wi-Fi. But not with the NordVPN app. It helps protect your privacy by encrypting your online data, and it's so easy to use. NordVPN, your shield from online snoopers. Download and enjoy trusted internet security and privacy.
Test.
connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Test. Testing.
We live in a world where we often forget the consequences of our overconsumption. At Refurb, we want to change that particular habit, which is why we purchase large amounts of used, quality computers from companies and subsequently restore and reuse them. When we receive the computers, we perform data deletion, renovate, and test them to make sure they are once again like new. Many have already realized that you can save a lot of money without compromising, simply by reusing.
Hello?
Get more for less and be the positive change by reusing.
Well, hello guys, and welcome on back to the Le Mans 24 Hours, hosted by the Endurance eRacing World Championships, otherwise known as GTR 24. We have Nick Newcombe back with us in the booth. He's going to do us a solid and talk a little bit for us, so we can get Chris's microphone sorted. We swapped out Chris's mic; it was popping a little bit, so we don't want you guys having to deal with that. So, Nick, take it away. Well, we do a little bit of TLC over here.
Yeah, I've just come back and I've, as I say that, I know, see the number 11 Satellite Racing's going into the pits. In a little bit of insight, we know that Adam's going to be jumping in the car at this present time. Still in second place, I see, is the 64 Satellite Racing car. Doing a good lap times now. Antonio's got himself back in the groove. Team RRC 77 now in third with Kim Leonard in the car. We have Undercover Sim Racing still making a go of it, coming back from their troubles earlier on. Still great pace, still with the fastest lap of the P1 field of a 3:14.3. Looking down in the P2, we'll see Haida still there, Enzo Farsi in the car. I think Jordy Spheres is going to be next in that car. We've still got Dennis Lynn with the fastest time of 3:27.3 for the P2 car. So it's still all going. Simtech is still in there in second place in the P2 with Jordan Weeks at the pilot of that car. At the front of the GT field, we have 911 Real Esports with Dylan Scrivens taking the lead there with their sister car 919 in P2 with Daniel Lundegaard in there, and 60 Haida Esports, Frederick Schroeder at the wheel in third. Obviously still fighting back from their problems yesterday and earlier in today, so that battle's about to be rejoined again. Haida coming back strong. In the GT3 we still have Viaductin in the lead of the GT3, a good distance away from 199 ID Sim Sports, sitting in P2. We have 32B, 32 Racing in the lead, in third, sorry, in the GT3 McLaren. Some laps down, but the fight is still on. Aztec Academy Esports number 87 has just entered the pits and bringing up the 130 Black Devil Racing with the BMW M8 GTE is the final car in the GT3 field.
Well, I'm back on. Hello. I'm back
Hi,
here temporarily.
hi.
Sorry, we're just sorting out Chris's microphone. Unfortunately, technology isn't our strong point here, so yeah, 4 people who are semi-competent. You get 1 competent person after all, hopefully, anyway. So here we are then. We are getting quite into the fat of this race now. We're still nowhere near the halfway mark, but we'll see lots of drivers starting to tuck into their evening meal and see the GNS crew in front of us having a nice big munch. Hello guys, I see you there. I see you talking nasty things about me. That's not very kind of you.
When I went on my break, it was light, and now we've come back. Full darkness is on, and headlights glaring on. And yeah, I was talking to Coyne on the way back in from following his interview with yourself, and he informs me that he nearly dropped the C-bomb, talking about a certain person. So, but luckily he kept himself in check, as they say, and yeah, we got away with it. And
so that's very rare. That's very rare for Coyne to do that, keeping himself in check. So good luck there, Coyne. Nodding the head. Now I see waiting in the wings, because we did have an interview with Shane Burke earlier, but unfortunately the interview was cut short. No, come on, mate. Come on, Tim. Come on. Oh, he's running away. Well, Tim, grab someone else. Grab someone else.
Yep, he's turned away and ran. Took his leave. This
is the great bit about having all the drivers here in front of us. We can just say, you, come here, and get them on location. We also have a couple of the RRC drivers just checking out the standings up there. We'd like to speak to a SimTech guy, though, if possible. But I tell you what, we can't get SimTech. We'll get the budget version instead. Hodge, come up here. Come on, mate.
Thank you very much. Come on, Hodge.
So we've got Adam Hodgkinson going back up to the stage. Let us give an update on how his team is doing. Currently with Kim Leonard in the car. And we're going to actually go to them on screen right now. I think as Hodge comes onto stage, if he does come onto stage, his team is going to be under attack from Team RRC. Wait, what? Satellite? Who's behind them? Where are you pointing, Chris? Well, okay, I'm not quite seeing the thing you're looking at. I think you're a bit behind on the timing there. Chris, is your stuff fixed yet? Give us a shake of a head or a nod of a head. Chris is fixed?
Yeah, that's
a bit low.
But yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, better.
Back in action.
There we go. So only the most professional commentary team here on stage. So we're joined yet again by Adam Hodgkinson on stage. Adam, welcome back up here. I think you're got a nice home up here. How are things going for you guys in the RRC car?
Yeah, not too bad. Joe did a superb stint. And then it's just Kim, he's quite nervous. So we're not giving him any goals, just go round. We're probably going to end up a 4th, just because the pace of that satellite car with I can't remember the guy who's in it at the moment is just ridiculous.
We would have just told you, but our time has just gone down, so we don't know who's in it either. Apparently, Eric Smeed.
Apparently, Eric Smeed is in the car, and he's just handed over to Adam at the last pit stop there.
Okay.
3 minutes ago.
So he's not called. I can't reach this page.
No, he's gone. The timing page has dropped.
For now, anyway. So fourth place is kind of your goal. Now you are still running in third. You say Kim's a bit nervous. Not really someone who does much endurance racing. It's not a name that I know, frankly. So someone that maybe isn't as experienced as you guys.
Myself, no. I think he is makes his friends with Joe. Maybe raced a few times before. But he was more apprehensive because of where we were. Coming into this, we were just going to be also runs. So being up in second through, luck more than anything else, puts a little bit more pressure on someone who was just hoping to take part and to have a reasonable result. And then when the pressure gets to you, so it's a case where I just told him there's no need to worry about position or pace. It's just a case of don't make any massive mistakes, really.
Well, you also have John Terrell down to drive with you. Is he planning on getting on the car at some point? Kind of, there was at one stage there was a little bit of questioning whether he'd actually be driving or not.
Yeah, again, he's gone along the lines of still he can get in the car if he wants to, but at the moment he's kind of a bit on the fence. So we've said, okay, so we'll just rotate round myself and Joe and Kim again, and then see where we are. And then if he's more relaxed about it, then he's more than welcome to run the car. There's no problem at all. Maybe we can just run him in late in the morning or something like that when maybe things are a bit more settled down. Because what he doesn't want to do is ruin the result, but he would never ruin the result. It's just a case of it's a team effort. You win as a team, you fail as a team.
We all ruin the result. that's how you do it. Now we're moving into the night now. Of course, I always like getting a driver's preview of this. What kind of challenges does the change of day to night present to you guys? Of course, you might say, well, it's still the same track, but of course, vision is, greatly hindered. Does it affect you guys too much at all when you're driving around, or does it just keep going as usual?
It's pretty much same as usual. You just get the more effect of the lights for the car behind, so you can be distracted, I guess, in a different way, rather than potentially distracted by something else in front of you. You can also then now be distracted more by what's behind you because of the lights in the mirror as such. Other than that, it kind of almost focuses your mind a bit, because you can see less, so you got actual less to concentrate on, so you then focus more on pinpoints here and there. So it kind of almost makes it easier in some ways, but then obviously you got the fact of the challenge that you can't actually see too far down the line.
I know there's one person currently in chat that will disagree with you about seeing less makes it easier to go fast, but we won't go into that too much. Hodge, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm sure we'll call upon either you or Mr. Chiampa at some point to come up and dutty our airways with information. Best of luck, and hopefully when we come back we'll still see you on the podium.
Fingers crossed. Good luck to yourselves.
Thank you very much. Did we miss anything, Chris, while we were gone? Well, actually, I can't tell you because apparently we can't reach that page.
We can't. I love that. That was the driver in the car. Can't read this. Can't reach this page. Whoever that is, yeah.
So we're just waiting to get our timing back to tell you for sure what's going on track right now. But we'll move on to the onboard of the Team RRC. This is Kim, the third driver, one of the Danes driving in Team RRC. Apparently a little bit nervous. I mean, I've had those nerves before when driving. It can be a pretty big hill to climb if maybe it's your first time driving in life. In fact, I remember eons ago driving in R Factor, driving at night, and you think, oh no, I'm going to mess up. And the first time you do, because you treat it the same as day driving, your kind of field of view is the whole track as opposed to a little bit of black tarmac in front of you. But you get used to it, and in that you kind of find that there are some drivers who actually do better at night than they do in the day.
I found myself, personally speaking, I enjoy driving at night a little more, but maybe I'm bit different that way, but I know some drivers don't enjoy it. I know some drivers actually do. It is about focusing, and it is about concentration, because obviously you haven't got that much to see, so it's about concentrating on everything in front of you, knowing where you are on the track, because if you do drift off, you forget which corner is coming. It's a right hand turn and you go left, which it doesn't actually help. So that's the concentration level, knowing where you are on the track. We all laugh, but I'm afraid I know people who have actually done that.
I had a teammate a couple of years ago, and he was coming down to the second Mulsanne chicane, and he said, in his words, I just forgot it was there, and went across it at 260 k's. Somehow missed all the barriers. So I'm sorry, I got a cut track. It's like, it's okay. You didn't destroy the car
because it could have easily been done. Because obviously you're concentrated driving so fast. You're at top speed, obviously, and if you'd miss your mark and you forget where you are, obviously he was drifting off somewhere, and you forget there's a left turn, then a right turn quickly before you head down into the Mulsanne turn.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've got a story to top that, actually from the same driver who will remain nameless for now. He was going down the straight, and of course, when you are driving several stints in the car and you're at home, you have a brief window of about 50 seconds or so to run to the loo and come back again. So he was going down the straight and, shall we say, preparing himself to go to the toilet by unzipping his trousers, and in the process of doing so, crashed on the Mulsanne straight with himself being ready. So he had to then explain to the team that he crashed essentially with himself in his hands, which is probably
That is absolutely disgusting.
And what's worse is a vision quickly came but went within the same second. You don't really please name them, or at least write the name down so we can see ourselves.
I'll write it. Nick will know who it is. Chris won't, but I'll write the name down in a second so you can read.
Please do, because then I can name the guy and you won't get into trouble. No,
Right.
I won't name the guy either. He's actually here.
Oh, he's not here. No. That'd be bad, but we'll scribble that away so no one can see who that was.
So you say he was preparing himself. What was the plan there? Like you got to push that button to talk.
So just run where you know.
Yeah, but
unrestrained to the toilet, I suppose.
Keep the pants up by the use of one hand.
And what do you do with the accelerator?
I don't know. I mean, this is the reason he crashed, all right? Obviously,
what was the plan there? You just start letting the car slow down progressively?
You come into the pit lane, and as soon as it's like you wait, kind of like this, and then brake, and then you're out. Maximum time possible to run to the loo and back.
How long did he have?
Obviously not long enough, because
he did have enough time after the crash, obviously.
Had enough time to tell his teammates what he did. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm just watching this Hyder Esport car just because let's get off that subject as quick as we can. Coming flying into the first corner. I've noticed this thing is sideways pretty much into every corner, but has just a little angle of slip. I'd say, hey Chris, tell us about the timings right now, but he's still met with a white screen, unfortunately.
Cannot connect securely to this page. It's now doing the rounds in front of me. So
unfortunately, I'm in the same boat.
Well, we'll get back to it as soon as we can. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you're watching online, be it Twitch or through one of the various other outlets, I'm sure the stream is on. We are quite a way into this 24-hour race now. How far exactly, I can't really tell you because we don't actually have the timing up at the moment. But it's around 5 hours or so. Coming up to about 5.5 hours, I'd say. Or 5 hours. Yeah, 5 hours.
And it's passed quickly. We've had lots of incidents, but this for me now was the main part of the race. We'll see. We've still got drivers to actually get into the respective cars. So obviously teams have designated nighttime drivers, and we'll see how they cope and see if anything changes within that.
There are some drivers that are there, as you said, just to be nighttime drivers. Hodge, who we had on the stage just a couple of minutes ago, is someone that we'd always nominate for nighttime driving, whether he liked it or not. Usually he wasn't around for the discussion, so he got nominated for the nighttime driving, which tends to be how those conversations go. But of course, the challenge is that you are up driving at times when you would usually be asleep. And that sounds like a very simple thing to say, but when you're out there driving, especially on the Mulsanne Straight, the Mulsanne Straight becomes very long.
Yeah, that's
a couple of hours.
Levels happen, isn't it? But by the fourth or fifth lap, what have we got? We've got a 10-lap stint length here. So I think just because of that, the concentration levels will still remain high because you've got that break of whatever time if you've got a full service or just fuel. It's I don't think it's going to be as bad as if you win a GTE car where the lap you've got an extra 5, 6, 7 laps on a stint length.
It's not too bad for these guys, of course, but they're all very much prepared around here. At some point, I really hope we can have a quick walk around the paddock here, the team paddock, because there are so many different little gazebos set up here. They put my shed to shame, these things do. A lot more equipped than my ones are. In fact, there's one just in front of us from the real esport guys, currently first and second in your GTE class, have 2 sofas, a couple of PCs, and a fridge there. With stocked full of energy drink that I've already said on the stream, but I won't say again because we don't want to annoy Mr. Mountain Dew Man here. No, we don't.
Mountain Dew's nice. Come on, give it a chance. It's nice.
But there are so many different arrays of setup around here. In fact, there's one race control setup. I actually forget the team. I really should know this, but they have about 10 monitors.
Is that the hider?
I don't think it's Hyder. The guys are in yellow. It's these guys. There you go. It's these guys over here. It's the Vikings. Yeah.
The Vikings with the most monitors, so they win. Always, we're getting them up on stage. Hopefully, here he comes.
Let's get him up on stage. I knew it was a yellow guy, so here we go. Nick, we'll let you prepare. We'll let you prepare for that quick, and then we'll get in. We'll get the thoughts there. But again, there's so many different types of people, different types of setups behind the scenes. It's really ridiculous. Nick, bring us some tasty interviews, will you?
Oh yes, thank you very much. And please let me know who you are first of all, and explain who the team is in the history behind. Well, obviously we had a bit chat about this at lunchtime, but if you can let the audience know what the team basis is.
Well, my name is Matthias Ting. I'm racing in the GT3 class. We have previously been driving as Enotech team, and we have been there for many years. Personally, I haven't driven the last 5 years, I think, but I have also in the past been driving for the same guys. Before we were driving R Factor. Yeah, so this year we have 4 cars, and 2 in GTE, 1 GT3, and a single LMP2 car.
So, explain to the audience exactly how the team was launched and what special guests you had there at the launch, and in the plans, hopefully, for next year.
Well, I haven't been so close to the team, but I mean, some of the oldest drivers have been driving, I think, for almost 10 years, and they are very experienced in terms of amount of times participating in the event. So we know how important it is just to keep on track and just to see what happens in the end. What will happen next year, we don't know. It will be a new location, and we will see how it will be. And we of course keep trying to improve the equipment and see how crazy pit wall and all kind of fancy things we have.
Yeah, but the main thing is your name is Hobro Vikings, and who hails from Hobro, the town of Hobro?
Yeah, well, we have our new sponsor this year, and of course, Hobro is also where we have our Mr. Le Mans, Tom Christensen from this town. So, I mean, we will try to honor him, but I think, I mean, we don't even have LMP1 car, so it's a bit sad. Maybe that's for next year if we will have the same name, but we will see what the future will bring.
Yeah, let's hope so.
I tell you what, if you don't mind, tell us a bit about the setup you have back there, because I alluded to the fact you got 10 monitors on the wall there. How long did that take to set up? It's ridiculous. It's better than some tech shops around here.
I mean, we had one of the guys who just went to the local store and bought some wood and then put it together, and
the Scandinavian.
Then last night we had some monitors with this VESA mount. You can just slide them in. It's pretty simple. We started just getting the simutils with the race man shop, and then we have every car has a race PC with the telemetry. Then we have each set of pair of cars that share an overview of the map, and then every car also have above them this overhead display on board, which is using the airtime system to broadcast live what we are seeing on the car.
That is slightly ridiculous, but also incredibly cool at the same time. I actually took a picture of your setup the other day and put it on my Instagram, and everyone was like, what is this? Like, it's fantastic. But that's part of the thing I love about this event, is coming around and seeing all those different setups. So really very cool indeed. So I think Chris is just, there you go, switching us to one of your cars now. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you have an awesome race, and we'll hope to hear from you a bit later on.
Thank you.
So that's one of the ID SimSport drivers coming around right now.
I can tell you, we have timing back.
We have timing back. We might even have our stream back there. And in that, we've actually missed out, I think, on, or we might be missing out on a battle.
We've got a battle for 9th place, which is going to be for 4th in the P2 class, and there it is. So we got.
And we have rain. We have rain here at Le Mans, ladies and gentlemen. Every driver strategy has just gone out of the window as rain begins to come down and people start running around in the background and looking a little bit solemn as well, I think. So rain is now here, and that's going to completely change up the strategy. So here we are then, coming down to the S's, and now, Chris, the tyres, they're on slick tyres out there right now. They're only going to get less and less grippy as the lap goes on, and this is where those who maybe did a little bit of practice yesterday in the wet conditions will come away a little bit better. What do you do here in this situation?
Stay on the track, basically, as best as you can. Don't make any mistakes. Get back to the pits as quickly as possible. But it is raining pretty heavy as well, isn't it? So we're going to keep an eye on the timing. If I see the sign of any incident whatsoever, I will let you know. So don't fall over there, Jimmy. Rainfall at 6% at the moment. Is your elbow okay?
I keep going. These chairs. The stage we have here isn't the most even thing in the world. So the wheels keep getting caught in between, and you keep nearly going over.
We've got a yellow at sector 3, I think. So I'm not too sure what's going on there, but I think that's what that means. So,
might just be some people coming in for a pit stop and trying to get the early tyre there. This could be big for some teams out there now. Maybe if you get the tyre choice right, you come into the pits early and get out there quickly. And by the way, whilst we were having that interview, it looks like the undercover sim racing team are now back in the lead of LMP1. They've come from being a lap behind several hours ago and have now somehow come back into the lead. Nicholas Hildebrand has been absolutely hustling that treble 8 car, and for me that has been the story of the race so far. That pace in the LMP1 has been absolutely insane, and we're actually seeing there has been a yellow for our GT3 leader, so some drivers now starting to perhaps struggle.
I think that's just them coming into the pits.
No, they're into the pits, so it looks like Viaducton are coming in to get a fresh set of tyres. More importantly, they have changed compounds. They've got onto the intermediate tyre from what I can see, so that's one of the first of our people coming in to get a fresh set of tyres. What do you do in this situation?
Well, rainfall, by the way, has gone up to 13% now, and the track wetness up to 10%, so it is rising all the time, and we'll monitor that. This is going to be difficult, going past traffic whilst it is raining, but I've got to say, Satellite managed that one very, very well round the outside there. So brilliant bit of driving there from the Satellite guys under what must be a lot of pressure now. Of course, they are trying to fight for the win in this race. So everyone diving into the pits, as you can imagine.
Well, the Pro Sim guy coming to the pits. Wait a minute, he's not even on throttle. What's going on there? Is he out of fuel? He's
got to be fuel, hasn't it?
He's coming into the pit very, very slowly. He does seem to have power. He's now on the limiter at 60 Ks. Maybe he got a little bit. I think what he was probably doing was switching his pit selection screen, making sure he was on the right tyres and getting that done now. This is all going haywire now. And I also see that we have Simtech staying out for now on the drier compound. It won't be long until the drivers are going to be forced to come in to get a set of intermediate or maybe even wet tyres. Maybe even some teams trying to stay out and bypass the intermediates altogether and go straight to wet, but do that at your own peril.
Yeah, this is a big moment in strategy, isn't it, Nick? What do you do? Do you stay out? Do you come in and get the intermediates, or do you even risk it and go for a wet set of tyres?
From what I can see, obviously, before the rain came down, we had the number 11 Satellite Racing with Adam Baldwin at the wheel in the lead. He has actually dropped down to P3 now overall, and third in class with the 64 Satellite car in second in the P1 class and second overall. We've got Undercover Sim Racing. I'm not even sure if they have actually come into the pits at this stage. I think they have stayed out and are going to see how this wet weather develops. But if the track gets worse, the fact that Satellite have actually come into the pits or on wet tyres, they're going to get the advantage. As the track gets even worse, the track wetness is now up to 35%, changed as I was about to tell you that it was at 33. It's now at 35 with race line wetness at 9%, so it is becoming worse by the second. So will the fact that Undercover stayed out for that extra lap, will that come back and hurt them? Will they have to really slow down, and will the fact that the Satellite cars came in give them dividends and pay it back?
Possibly. Of course, bear in mind that if you do get off that dry line, although it is a bit more slippery than it was a few laps ago, you are met with the wet part of the circuit. You put a tyre onto that and it grabs you, and you just end up probably stopping when you hit a barrier. We're currently watching the number 11 Satellite car tiptoe their way around the circuit. We think that was a pit stop for tyres for Adam Baldwin. They were leading this race a couple of laps ago, as Nick said, now down to third. Undercover Sim Racing have inherited the lead, and they are still out on track at the moment from what I can see. They're currently coming around the Porsche curves, and now we're seeing some spray being kicked up at the rear of that LMP1. You can see, watching the throttle input down the bottom left there, that Nicholas Hildebrand is having to be very, very careful with this car. This car does have some form of traction control, and in he comes to the pit lane now, as we expected. But in the foreground, you can see a very slow GTE car. Bear in mind the pit lane, as you can see Nico going round, and he spins on the way into the pit lane. I was about to say the pit lane entrance is very slippy, and here comes a GTE car onto the way, and hopefully they see each other and they don't have any sort of incident. But the pit lane entry is not on the racing line, so it's very wet compared to the rest of the track, and Nico there falling afoul of the pit entrance.
Yeah,
in as well.
Yeah, that's the chance you take, and obviously that lap that they stayed out, and we nearly have an incident at the pit in. Just as I was speaking there, I'm not sure which cars were involved there, but it looked really, really close.
Satellite.
Is that correct? Satellite cars out correct, Jimmy?
The 64 Satellite nearly swiped the front of a GTE on the way in. Lucky they escaped it. We had a yellow flag in Sector 2, so some people not finding their way around. Here comes the number 11 Satellite, now the last, or one of the last P1s to come in. Everyone pitting into the pit lane. Now they have no choice. The tyres are not, the slick tyres are not going to be able to displace this much water. And if you aren't in the pits now at the end of this lap, I think you're making a big mistake. I'm just going through the field now to see if we can spot anyone who has had an incident based on that yellow flag. I think the yellow flag has righted itself now, but everyone else seems to be peeling into the pit lane. Yeah, that's the right decision. Oh, actually saying that, Burst Esports staying out. I'm not sure they're pitted yet, but everyone else choosing to come in for a tyre better suited to these conditions.
So, well, everyone coming into the pits, as you said, some more successfully than others. Team RRC actually came in a lap before that, and are now out there one more lap earlier than the rest of their drivers that they are racing against at the head of the field. Here come Undercover Sim Racing back onto circuit. Still got a yellow in Sector 3. That's, I think, just multiple incidents coming in to the pits. Now, where are Satellite Racing going?
They actually went into the pits, so they didn't come in. So it was actually out on track that they lost their position, so we might have missed something there. So Satellite Racing 64 exits the pit, now in P2 overall with 11 Satellite Racing with Adam Baldwin at the wheel, doing a driver change. Maybe they stayed out a little bit longer.
Well, just watching, sorry Nick, the Undercover, our leader coming out of the pits. Driver change for them now. Nico Hildebrand out of the car, Devin Braun back in. And the first thing Devin did was nearly put it off the road coming down at the forest. This is, of course, not accustomed yet to these wet conditions. And even so, even in these wet conditions, the cars are still doing nearly 350 kilometers an hour before breaking down to the first Mulsanne corner, such as the speed of these things. But bear in mind, these prototypes, the P1s, the P2s, they don't have any ABS. So braking for T1 is not, or braking for any of these big braking stops is always a little bit tricky. But anyway, guys, we're going to very quickly pop to a commercial break. Don't go anywhere. It's all hotting up here at Le Mans.
So Next Level Meal is a meal replacement. So if you've ever heard of Soylent or one of those other products, the idea is that instead of eating a meal, you drink it or you eat a bar. That's what Next Level Meal is. The difference being that it actually tastes good. For me, I use Next Level Meal when I'm traveling or when I want to replace the worst meal that I'm going to eat in a given day. And the reason that I'm excited about this particular food is because its basis is real food.
All teams, this is race control. Please remember, it has been brought to my attention that a few drivers are still walking between the rigs when swapping drivers. As we discussed at the driver briefing, please walk via the access road as to make sure you don't damage any network cabling or power cabling between rigs, please. Thank you.
With so much of my life stored on my PC, I can't afford to take any chances. That's why I choose Kaspersky Antivirus to help keep me safe. It protects me from viruses and spyware without slowing me down. My PC keeps performing as it was designed to, and nothing gets in my way. Get award-winning protection for your PC. Kaspersky Antivirus.
Connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
We live in a world where we often forget the consequences of our overconsumption. At Refurb, we want to change that particular habit, which is why we purchase large amounts of used, quality computers from companies and subsequently restore and reuse them. When we receive the computers, we perform data deletion, renovate, and test them to make sure they are once again like new. Many have already realized that you can save a lot of money without compromising, simply by reusing. Get more for less and be the positive change by reusing.
How do you feel when someone is looking over your shoulder? Not all snoopers can be seen. Cyber criminals can steal your sensitive information. Hackers can intercept your data on public Wi-Fi. But not with the NordVPN app. It helps protect your privacy by encrypting your online data, and it's so easy to use. NordVPN, your shield from online snoopers. Download and enjoy trusted internet security and privacy.
Well, as quick as the rain came, it vacated. We are back to no rain here at the Le Mans 24 Hours GTR 24, presented by the Endurance eRacing World Championship. Track is still very wet at this point, though, so intermediate tyres or wet tyres are definitely the way to go at this point. Just before we pass over to our interview, we need to also make mention that Viaducton came in with damage. So our leader in GT3 class had some sort of issue earlier on, but they seem to be still in the lead of class. But I think that may be just the result of going a bit too fast in wet conditions. Now, we're joined in the booth at the moment by the man I think who's put in the drive of the race so far, Nico Hillebrand from the Undercover Sim Racing Team, the 888 car. And interviewing him is our very own Nick Newcombe.
Yeah, welcome along. It's great to have you here. We were watching the stints that you put in and the times that you were putting in. Exceptional. And obviously now you've handed the car over back to Devon, who's back in for another stint. And the car's now in the lead.
Yeah, we got very lucky in the meantime with overall just basically anything. We had lots of good traffic. We had, very reliable in the middle. Like, we had small freezes in the middle because, like, the PC started overheating after the bit of the disconnection. After Devin was out of the car, I just tried to match his time again and again. And in the second stints, I always tried to just stay on pace of the lead cars.
Yeah, there was times you were 3, 4, 5 seconds ahead, being the quickest in class. That must be heartening for the car and the rest of the team.
Well, I mean, we've all been practicing a lot in the last couple of days. Like, we switched very late to the LMP1 car. At this point, I have to thank a friend of mine, Alejandro Fernandez, for making the skin for us on a very, very short notice, within 24 hours on this car. Like, actually getting the template sent and everything, like, there was actually less than 20 hours. And he just made it absolutely brilliantly. And yeah, without him, that wouldn't be possible as well. But yeah, like, usually we would have been LMP2. We changed to LMP1 because Devin got a feel with the car for the setup and everything. Then we all got like on board with it and could get it running properly, and it just has been improving on and on and onwards. So,
well, obviously, when the rains came down, did you stay out that extra lap? I think you did, didn't you? And then when you did come in, we had a little bit of obviously the pit in is a bit tight when you get that little chicane before the pit entrance itself.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite complicated because the softs are up to a certain degree of wetness. They're still very, very good, actually faster than the rain tires without destroying them. And then, like, coming into the pits at the end of that lap, the wetness was obviously like already the majority over the dryness and everything. And I kind of underestimated the lack of grip there and spun like an utter plebeian after that stint. So. Yeah.
You did well to recover the car. It was good to see you get actually into the pit. You came out still in the lead, which was good. And now you've recovered from obviously being in the front earlier on in the race. You've come back from a lap down, pushed yourself, and drove real hard. And now you're getting the rewards. Sitting at the front of the field, P1 in class and P1 overall.
Yeah, it's very rewarding, of course. Like, I think this just basically showed like consistency is key in general, and yeah, it's I can hardly put it into words after like 3 hours of driving now, the 6 stints.
Yeah, it was a proper stint you did. But the thing is, the consistency was really, was so high. So I hope the team have given you a real big good pat on the back for that stint. There was